Alright, so then we go to the next representation. This is Kali, K-A-L-I, Hindu goddess of destruction. She's the thing that you encounter, she's the thing that makes things go bump in the night. What is that thing? Well, let's take it apart a little bit. Because you can't see this image until you understand it. You would be able to if you were Hindu, because you'd be in the culture and you'd know what the image represented. But some people in here might be Hindu, but not very many people. So, okay, so let's talk about this image. It's a horrifying image. And so here's how this image emerged. It emerged in the imagination of people who were tormented for millennia about just what the hell lurked out there in the unknown. And some artist was seized by a revelation, a horrifying revelation of just what that was. Okay, so what is it? Well, first of all, she's in a container of fire. Why fire? Well, fire is useful and destructive, right? And you also cannot look away from fire. And so it's a really good symbol of that which you cannot look away from. It's eternally meaningful. Fire is eternally meaningful. Why? We can't keep our hands off fire, right? We're descendants of the first insane ape who was so obsessed by fire that he couldn't stay away from a burning landscape and learned how to master it. He's our forefather, that person. We're obsessed by fire. It's magical to us. And it transforms, it burns and transforms. So from a symbolic perspective, it's a very useful source of imagistic representation. Okay, the fire is there, and then inside the fire, these are skulls. You see them? All lined up there. So it's not just fire, it's the fire of death that consumes. So that's where Kelly lives. So that's fun to start with. And then there she is with her hair on fire, because her hair's on fire, in case she isn't frightening enough just because of where she lives. Her hair is on fire, and her headdress is made out of skulls. So that's nice. And then she's like an insect, like a spider. See, she has all these legs. And why is that? It's because we don't really like insects. And you know, they set off our bug detectors and they can bite us, and they're quite horrifying. And many people have spider phobias particularly. And no wonder. And then she's got a weapon in one hand here, and then you see she's eating something. And you see here her belly is concave. Well, why? Well, she's in a birth position. She's just given birth to this unfortunate character who she happens to be standing upon, and he's disemboweled, and she's eating him intestines first. And that's Kelly. It's like, that's horror. It's a representation of horror and death and destruction and transformation. It's feminine as well. What do you do in the face of this? Mother Nature. That's another negative element of Mother Nature. What do you do with something like this? Well, that's the eternal question. And the answer is quite straightforward. You make sacrifices to her. And if you make the proper sacrifices, then she turns into her beneficial counterpart. And that's exactly what you do in life. If in the face of horror and death, you make sacrifices, so you transform the terrible destructive element of nature into that thing that continually offers you what you need. That discovery is one of unparalleled brilliance. And you know, we don't get it. We think it's primitive. And no wonder, you know, you can understand human sacrifice. That sounds pretty primitive, man. It's terrifying. But the idea of sacrifice, it's an act of, the idea itself is a conceptualization of utter genius. And why do you expect it to come forward first in its perfect form? It's not going to do that. It's going to come forward imperfectly and roughly and brutally, and then hopefully be refined across time, which is exactly what has happened. You see, even in the biblical stories, the transition from human sacrifice to animal sacrifice. And then with us now, it's a transition from animal sacrifice to psychological sacrifice, because we're sophisticated enough to do that. We can let go of concepts and abstractions and things that we're holding on to that we should no longer hold on to, and progress in that manner. It's increasing articulated psychological sophistication. But we still make sacrifices, and we hope that they'll be accepted, and we hope that they're of high enough quality so that they work.